everyone, it's Shelby, otherwise known as Shelbizleee here on YouTube, and welcome to the last episode in my Zero Waste Makeup series. In this episode, I'm going to be testing out all of the recipes that you have seen me make in the last 2 episodes, and I'll be testing them out on myself and let you guys know which ones I would recommend and which ones I wouldn't. But before we get into that, I have to say thank you once again to Ecosia for sponsoring this series. I couldn't have done this without them. If you guys don't know what they are by now, you haven't seen the other episodes in this series. Ecosia is basically an eco-friendly version of Google. All you have to do is install the app on your phone or the extension on your laptop or desktop, and you'll begin helping Ecosia reach their goal of 1 billion trees by 2020 just by doing that. Ecosia uses 80% of their profits that they make from ads from your searches, and they put it towards planting trees. It's a super easy way to be more eco-friendly, and you know that that is my motto on this channel. So if you want a really easy way to help better the environment, make sure you click the link in the description to Ecosia, download it. It's totally free, doesn't cost you anything, but will definitely make you feel a lot better about daily things that you do anyway, contributing to something awesome. So what I'm going to be doing in today's episode is trying to recreate essentially the look I have on my eyes today. It's nothing extravagant, it's just what I've been doing lately. Basically, I use 3 colors. I put the lightest color in my crease, and then I go darker from there to create sort of a really easy smoky eye. I made a variety of eyeshadows in the last episode of this series, so if you haven't seen that, go check it out. That's what we'll be using today. Not to recreate the exact thing, but basically just the same technique to create a super simple smoky eye. So let's see how it turned out. The first thing I did was start a primer slash moisturizer with the shea butter. I've been really enjoying this because it doesn't make my skin too oily, but it helps it not be dry anymore. So then I use arrowroot powder as like a translucent powder. If you guys have been seeing this trend lately, usually people put translucent powder over their first layer, and it did a pretty good job, I think, of like muting out the redness and also the shininess. Then I went ahead and moved on to eyeshadow. So I started with the lightest color that I made, and that color was made from a little bit of cocoa powder, turmeric, and arrowroot powder. I started blending that into my crease just like my normal routine, and then I picked up the next darkest color, which was the same ingredients but a little bit more cocoa powder than before. I moved that closer to my lid, which is the goal here, to go from light is to dark. And I think it looked okay, but the powder was kind of flying around and getting around my eyes. And then I noticed that it was too much, like it was just getting everywhere. So I took the arrowroot powder kind of to use it as translucent powder and get out the messiness. But then I realized it was just everywhere. Like the powder started to settle in places that I didn't want it to. So I tried to use some shea butter to put onto my eyeshadow brush for the next color I picked up so that it would stay put a little bit better. And the next color I used was cocoa powder and a little bit of activated charcoal. And I do think the shea butter helped it stay down a little bit better. But then it wasn't very easy to blend, and it just wasn't the easiest thing to work with, if I do say so myself. I moved on to bronzer, which is just cocoa powder, and I started putting that on my face. Now, I definitely went in with way too much for my first time, but that's fine actually because this blends out really nicely. You might not be able to tell how nicely it's blending out because I didn't have foundation on, so my skin tone wasn't very even and it was kind of patchy. But if you guys know of any zero waste natural foundations, definitely let me know your favorite in the comment section because I couldn't find any recipes for it. It seems like a pretty difficult thing to match your skin tone and to make a foundation, right? So I don't have one for that, but if you do, please let your girl know. Then I went ahead and moved on to eyeliner, so I used the same recipe that we made for the mascara on an angled brush, and I tried to apply that to my eyes. Now I will say that this recipe doesn't work too well for eyeliner. You can see that it's pretty sheer and I'm struggling a lot to get it to show up on my eye, and then I don't think it dried down the way it should to be in an area that's creasing. However, I am normally better at the second eye, so I went ahead and gave it a shot on the other one, and you have to admit that it definitely looks better on the second eye, but still not too great. Not something that I really wanted to use on my eyes, but it's all I had for this tutorial, so here we are. Then I went ahead and took a little bit of shea butter and put it into my brows. Now, stick with me, I know that might sound weird, but I thought if I just put the cocoa powder in my brows on its own, it wouldn't stay in my brows. So I applied the shea butter and then the cocoa powder over the top, and I think it did pretty well. I think it looks pretty good, and I like the color. Let me know what you guys think of that color. I'm curious. And then I used the beetroot powder to try to use it as like a lipstick, but it had already absorbed so much moisture that it really wasn't like a powder anymore, and I mixed it with some shea butter to use it as lipstick, but it just really wasn't working out, and my lips are already naturally pretty pink, so I wasn't too crazy about doing that anyway. I could pass on that. And then this part was a little bit more intricate. I had to clean off one of my old mascara wands, sanitize it, and then use it to roll into the mascara that we made. It wasn't hard. It worked out pretty well. You can see that the mascara shows up nicely and works well on my eyelashes. Hey guys, so before I move on to the last part of this video, I wanted to share my thoughts before I take off my makeup on how I felt about each thing that I used and if I'll be using it again or not. So let's start with the first thing that I did, which was put on some shea butter as my primer. This I would say I am a fan of and I will probably continue doing. I actually never used shea butter before this video, and I've used coconut oil before and stuff like that, but never shea butter. So I'm actually a really big fan of this stuff now. Like I said, my skin has been really dry, and so I think that this is a really good thing because it didn't make me look oily, but it didn't make me feel oily, but it still moisturized my skin. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this. And then what I did after that is I put arrowroot powder over it to make it not so oily, but I'm not even sure if that was necessary, but it helps it not be tacky. Sort of like you see these trends in like the beauty guru community of YouTube where people put on their primer and then they use a translucent powder to put over it so it's not so tacky and easier to blend out. That was my thought process behind these two things, and I like both of these, and this combo is probably something I will continue using. Next thing I did was use the cocoa powder as my bronzer. I think that was the next thing I did, right? Basically, this is just cocoa powder, nothing else, and this is definitely something I will continue using. You guys know, I think I said it in the beginning, but basically I use a lot of makeup that I find in the dumpster. If I ever don't find something or I run out of something or anything like that, I don't want to run out and purchase it with my own money because it costs money, but I don't like to contribute to that industry because it's wasteful and environmentally harmful, yada yada yada. You guys know how I feel, most of you do. So I think this did a pretty good job bronzing up. I think I went a little heavy in some areas. Oh, it's coming out. But I think for the most part this is something that I would definitely continue using and I can see myself using going forward. Then after that I moved on to my eyes because I don't wear blush because, as you can see, I am a pretty naturally red pinky person, and I have to say that the eyes were a disaster for the most part. The eyeshadow is just a no-go for me. That's not something I will continue using. I thought it would be good and I made all these cool colors, but yeah, it doesn't work that great. Same with using the mascara as an eyeliner. That's a no for me. I used a mascara recipe, right? I was going for mascara and I just thought in my head I could just use it as eyeliner, but no, I can't. So definitely won't be using it as eyeliner, but I did pretty much enjoy it as mascara. Now there are a ton of zero waste mascara recipes out there, and so I'm going to keep trying different ones and see if I can't find one that I really like. But this one wasn't bad. I think it worked pretty good as a mascara. And last things last, Beats as like lipstick, I guess, is a no for me, only because I don't really like the color of it to begin with. But another part of it is I left the lid, this is partly my fault, I left the lid off of this overnight last night, and it just basically got super hard in there and it's not really a powder anymore. It absorbs some moisture, and yeah, that's not something I'd use again. Oh, and the cocoa powder for my brows is a yes, definitely something I will use again. Alrighty guys, so that's all I had to say about the stuff that I already used. I'm going to show you how you can take off your makeup in a zero waste way, which I have showed maybe once before, but this is something that I do every day anyway, so join me for that right now. Like I said, this is something I do all the time, but typically with coconut oil because that's what I have. And you guys can also use coconut oil if you can find it in glass packaging instead of plastic. I've had trouble finding shea butter outside of plastic, so I might stick to coconut oil if I can't find any after this. But then I just use a reusable makeup wipe and wipe my makeup right off. It's that simple, and I can drop a link to those in the description. Okay guys, well that concludes this series. If you love this series as much as I do, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you haven't checked out Ecosia by now, what the heck are you doing? Get it, download the app, download the extension for your browser and get to planting trees. Again, it's totally free. It's just an amazing sponsor for this type of content, and I can't thank them enough. I'm so excited to tell you guys about it, and I'm really excited for you guys to get to using it. So let me know what you thought of all of these recipes. Let me know what you thought of how it turned out, and if you'll be trying out any of them for yourselves. I'm definitely interested to know if you guys will try this out for yourself. So remember, until next time, you guys, create the peace.